Joseph Stalin, the Soviet dictator whose rule was marked by repression, terror, and massive human suffering, continues to evoke admiration and nostalgia among certain segments of the Russian population. Despite his brutal regime and egregious human rights abuses, many Russians express positive sentiments towards Stalin, viewing him as a strong leader who defended the Soviet Union during World War II and transformed the country into a global superpower. This video seeks to explore the multifaceted reasons behind the enduring popularity of Stalin among some Russians, drawing insights from historical analyses, sociopolitical dynamics, cultural factors, and psychological mechanisms. Stalin's popularity among Russians can be partly attributed to his leadership during World War II, a period marked by immense sacrifice and heroism. Stalin's decisive role in orchestrating the Soviet war effort against Nazi Germany, culminating in the victory at Stalingrad and the eventual defeat of the Axis powers, has contributed to his image as a wartime hero and defender of the motherland. Joseph Stalin had a big idea for fighting wars called deep battle. It changed how the Soviet Union fought wars. This idea combined different parts of the military like artillery, tanks, and soldiers to attack the enemy together. They would try to break through the enemy's defenses and surround them. A big test for Stalin's idea was the Battle of Kursk in 1943. It was a major battle in World War II. The Soviet Union used deep battle there, with tanks and soldiers working together. They stopped the German army and turned the tide of the war in their favor. Other countries noticed Stalin's strategy too. In the Korean War, the Chinese army used deep battle to push back American and South Korean troops. It showed that this strategy could work against strong enemies. Nostalgia for stability and order. Many older Russians feel nostalgic for the old days of the Soviet Union because they remember it as a time of stability and order. After the Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, things got messy as Russia switched to capitalism. Some people look back fondly on Stalin's time, even though it was tough, because they think it was a time when everyone worked together and the country was united, even if it was under strict rule. Propaganda and state narrative. The Russian government, under the leadership of President Vladimir Putin, has played a significant role in shaping perceptions of Stalin through state-controlled media and historical narratives. Journalist Alexei Volkov's investigation into Putin's Russia and the rehabilitation of Stalin sheds light on how the Kremlin's propaganda machine has sought to rehabilitate Stalin's image as a patriotic leader and nation-builder. By downplaying Stalin's crimes and emphasizing his role in industrializing the Soviet Union and defeating fascism, the Putin regime seeks to foster a sense of national pride and unity among Russians. Cultural identity and symbolism. Stalin's popularity is deeply ingrained in the fabric of Russian culture and emotions. Cultural historians observe that for a significant portion of Russians, particularly those who came of age during the Soviet era, Stalin holds a special place as a symbol of national pride. In their eyes, Stalin embodies characteristics such as strength and independence, which are highly cherished values in Russian society, particularly in times of external pressure or perceived threats from other nations. Stalin's image as a symbol of Russian identity resonates strongly with many Russians, serving as a powerful icon of resilience and unity. Despite the controversies surrounding his rule, Stalin is often idealized as a figure who stood up to challenges and safeguarded the interests of the Russian people. In times of adversity or uncertainty, such as during periods of geopolitical tension or economic hardship, Stalin's legacy evokes a sense of solidarity and collective strength among Russians. Limited access to information and historical education. Limited access to different sources of information and not enough critical education about history play a big part in why some Russians still like Stalin. Political scientist Andrei Popov studied this in his research on media control and historical education in Russia. He showed how the government controls what people see and learn about Stalin through the media and in schools. In places where people can't speak out against the government and where the stories about history are controlled, many Russians only hear the good things about Stalin. They don't learn about the bad things he did, so they have a positive view of him. This makes it harder for them to see the truth about Stalin's actions and the harm he caused to many people. Economic and social conditions. Socioeconomic factors significantly influence how people view Stalin's era. When times are tough economically and there's a big gap between rich and poor, some Russians might idolize Stalin's time. They may see it as a period when the country was more stable and everyone had a more equal chance. This can make them admire leaders who are strict and make quick decisions, like Stalin was. So during times of economic instability and social inequality, some Russians might look back at Stalin's rule with nostalgia, even though there were many problems during that time. Psychological mechanisms. Many people still like Stalin because of how they think about him in their minds. Even if they know he did bad things, they might still look up to him. Even if they know he did terrible things, they might only think about the good things he did or forget about the bad things. This makes them feel okay about still liking him because they see him as someone who made their country strong and united. Even though they know he did bad stuff, some Russians might still think of Stalin positively because they focus on the good things and don't think much about the bad stuff. What is clear is that Stalin, despite all the terrible things he did, still holds a respected place in the hearts of some Russian people. They praise his greatness for the fear he instilled in the hearts of his enemies and still aspire for such greatness for their country. It remains to be seen if someone can bring this dream to fruition for them or not.